IVM.
Folks, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. I'm your host Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter, and my guest today is Arun Chaudhry, Director and Chief Business Officer at Mirae Asset Capital Markets India Private Limited. We are going to talk about the stock markets, about the new offering m.Stock, and much more right after this short break.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.
And welcome back. Arun, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. Thank you so much for doing this for our listeners.
Thank you for having me, Anupam.
Great to have you here. So, first questions first for our listeners, right? Because it gets a little bit confusing. Tell us about Mirae. There is Mirae Mutual Fund, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with. And then there is Mirae Asset Capital Markets. What's the difference? Just give us a backdrop.
Of course. Mirae entered India in 2008. And the first step that we took towards India was setting up the AMC business, which is what was till now referred to as Mirae Asset. After the very successful stint of 15 plus years, what came into being was Mirae Asset Capital Markets in the year 2017. Now, the difference between the two entities is that Mirae Asset Investments is the mutual fund wing of the Mirae Asset Global. And Mirae Asset Capital Markets, as the name itself suggests, is into multiple businesses. We have investment banking, institutional broking, our own prop book. And the latest addition to this pack was m.Stock, which is the retail broking proposition that we launched on the 11th of April. So this essentially is the difference between the two entities.
11th of April. That's very recent. So let's start. Arun, what is m.Stock? A lot of brokerages and some of them have come on our show. Recently, we had Angel One, we've had Dhan. A lot of brokerages around are focusing on technology. Tell us what your journey was like.
So, Anupam, the journey has been a little short, but the excitement was quite a bit. So, as I told you, we launched on the 11th of April, which is close to a little more than 90 days old now. Now, how are we different is what I would want to focus on in the beginning versus what you see today. The industry is broken up into two parts. One is the regular traditional brokers who will charge brokerage in percentages. And then we saw the advent over the last 5 to 6 years of discount brokers coming in. With m.Stock, we are very proud to launch a completely new segment, which we refer to as zero broking. So now, how are we different is that once you pay the account opening fees, everything beyond that at m.Stock is completely free, and that is for life. You don't have to pay any charges, and that is not linked to any subscriptions. There are no hidden charges. There are no limits to time, to age, to number of orders. It is completely free. Since the launch over the last 90 years, we are very happy to inform that we've already been able to onboard more than 10,000 clients. We've already executed more than 3,500 crore worth of total turnover on platforms, which is attributed to more than 1.5 million trades. I think why such an enthusiastic start is because from the day one, the business was absolutely focused on what the customers want. Whether it was the design of the platform, whether it was design of the journeys within the platform, whether it was customer service, we try to ensure that we're able to give what our customers are looking for. And hence, some people call us simple, some people call that you can add a lot of features, but we pride in saying that we offer the customers what they want. So that's how the journey has been.
Very interesting. Small correction. I'm sure you meant 90 days there, Arun.
Yeah.
It came as 90 years also. Of course, I would wish you hundreds of years of the business. Let's get to the details, Arun. Let's talk about, the specific pricing, because I like that you guys are very transparent. There is a detailed YouTube clip also which features you where you explain how the product is. You've got, model number A, which is, I think, a flat charge, and then if you want to demat. So let's give our listeners an exact breakdown about the costing of your product, because that's quite important. And maybe, let's talk about a few trades. Like, say, if I buy in cash and I'm looking at a 1 lakh order, what would the cost work out to me? Let's go in detail there.
Absolutely. Now, let me pick it up from the video which I had done, and probably we can add a couple of details from there on itself. So the pricing actually is split into three parts. for any broker, not only for us. One is the account opening charge. Second is the charge that the users have to pay towards the demat maintenance. And the third one are the government levies. Now, these are three parts that we split it in. At m.Stock, when you open an account, you have two options with you. You either choose the flagship orientation that we carry, which is the 999 account, or you can choose the 149 account as well. Now, how are they two different? When you open a 999 account, all the trades across all the products that we have live on the platform are completely free, and that's for life. A lot of people have actually come back to me saying that, boss, is there something hidden behind life as well? I said, boss, that's your life and my life both. So it's completely free there. On the other account, and that was specially created for people who said, let me try you out first before I move everything to you, we had a 149 account opening fee as well, where when you open an account with 149, you have to pay 20 rupees per executed order. But even in the 149 account, all your transactions, whether it is for delivery, for mutual funds, for IPO, continue to be completely free for life as well. Now that's for the account opening part. Let me add a cherry on the cake now. Now, in terms of the demat as well, we've got a very exciting offer for the users. Now, in addition to the account opening fees, if you give me one more 999, now let me add these two numbers up. So you open an account with 999, plus you give me one more 999, which makes it 1998 of DP maintenance. Then I will also ensure that your DP charges are being made free for life. So with as low as 1998, the account that you open with me becomes completely free from any charges the users will be charged over their lifetime. Of course, in addition to this, there are government levies and a small payment partner fees, which is, of course, what we pass on to the regulators and the partners that we work with. The last part are the statutory levies. And why I want to talk about this is a lot of people confused saying that, boss, are they also zero? See, these are charges which are being taken by us and passed on to the respective regulators in lieu of the transactions that the customers execute on our platform. So here also, we've tried to be as competitive as possible. Just to give you a couple of examples, for example, pledge in our case is at about rupees 12. When you sell a stock from your DP, that transaction is again at 12. We don't charge anything for reactivation. We don't charge anything when you place a trade through our call center. We don't have any other hidden charges which will come to you as a surprise in your contract. So I know that's a lot of information, but I try to ensure that I explain every bit of it.
Yeah, folks, don't go anywhere, because on the other side of this break, we'll actually take you through a specific transaction to make you understand how m.Stock is different from other brokers. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. Varta Lab is back with its fourth season. Join Akash Mehta and Naveen Narona as they talk to a range of guests with funny and insightful anecdotes. Don't miss their first episode with actor Vishal Malhotra. On Future Proofing, Eklavya is joined by Dr. Pawan Rane. They discuss the role of the metaverse in healthcare. On Simplified, the hosts discuss how technical breakthroughs will help the viewing experience of the upcoming FIFA World Cup. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus talks to actor Sunny Kaushal. They talk about his early days in theatre, his breakthrough performances, and belonging to a film family. And on the Musafir story, solo traveler Ayush gives us a glimpse of the hill town Kannur and his famous toy train. I'd like to remind you all about our merchandise once again. We got some amazing stuff out there with more coming soon. But go to the IVM Podcast website and check out our collection of t-shirts. You have to click on the shop tab and we'll take you to our partner Grow 91's website. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Hey, you want somebody to talk to your shows about, right? So talk to them about them. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platforms you're listening to us on. And remember, you can check us out on YouTube. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Bode Lifestyle, Small Case, Capgemini, and Intel vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
And welcome back. Okay, Arun, you've given us this nice picture with some cherries on top also, as you said. Let's look at two specific transactions. Actually, first, let's start with cash. Let's just say that I'm doing a 1 lakh rupee. Actually, let's take one step back. So I come on your platform and I pay 999. Is there any 18% GST there, or it's just flat 999?
That's absolutely there. So 19,999 plus 18% GST plus about 2% payment partner fees is all you have to pay.
Okay, so I pay that up, and let's say that I still have my Demat account. My Demat is with whatever, an ICICI, Kotak, HDFC, whoever, whatever, wherever.
Yeah.
And I put in an order of say 1 lakh rupees to buy, I don't know, 1,000 shares of 100 rupees each.
Yeah.
What would and this is for delivery, by the way. This is not for, intraday. It's not for selling tomorrow, etc., etc. It's just that I want to buy and I want to hold. What would the process, what would the costing be like for me?
So excellent, Anupam. What I will do is I will just extend this question to answer whether it is buying in delivery or in intraday or in futures or in options or in commodities or currencies. Commodities we'll be live with soon. The charges are completely same. You will actually end up paying rupees 0 when it comes towards any brokerage being charged to you if you had opted for the 999 account. It is completely 0. So there is nothing beyond that. And of course, the government levies as per the standard charges, which is standard for every broker, is what you are being charged as. Now, if you would have opened a 149 account, now coming to answer a specific question, and you would have done a delivery transaction of 1 lakh, the charges in terms of brokerage would still have been 0.
Okay.
So I don't charge anything for delivery or for mutual fund or for IPO, irrespective of the kind of account that you open. And also to add, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to clarify even more, a lot of people came back saying that we've noticed a lot of competitors come in, create this offer, and then after a couple of months, they shifted back to a charge. I'm also clarifying that this is not any kind of a introductory offer that Mirae is launching. This is the kind of business that we want to get into. This is the new kind of segment that we want to open up to everyone.
Very interesting. Arun, you spoke of some levies, probably exchange charges, and I know there is something called STT, there is something called turnover tax, there is something called stamp duty. So all of these charges are also there, which are part of every transaction, almost every transaction. It again depends on whether you're doing an F&O or if you're, there are some on which STT is charged, there are some on which STT is not charged, etc., etc. Just a rough overview. When I get the contract note from you, if I see these charges, I just want to get an idea of what these could be. Because like you said, you're just passing this through from me to the exchanges or to whoever is the regulator or whoever is the person who's levying that fee on you.
Sure. So actually, I think the conversation will extend into a couple of hours if I end up explaining all of them together. So for everyone's simplicity, we've created a website called as m.Stock.com, where on the pricing page, we've detailed them out. But just to give you a number so that you understand on an average, what are the charges being levied. So close to about 12 to 14% are the total charges which the user pays, which is when you execute a transaction. The reason why I'm giving you a range and not an exact number, because you rightly said that there are a couple of charges. For example, you don't pay a charge when you're selling something, whereas there are some charges when you pay while you're buying a transaction or doing a transaction. So that's why there is a range but the total typically comes to about 12 to 14% in terms of total charges that a user ends up paying.
Yeah, out of brokerage, I think since it's not there, reduces the burden a lot. Arun, what are the specific features of m.Stock? Essentially, I'm asking you, what do you offer that is different from other platforms? I get the 999 and the 999 plus 999 scheme. That's great. But anything else you want to talk about specific features for m.Stock that you think are truly unique as compared to other platforms?
Oh, I would. In fact, pricing was the smallest thing I wanted to talk about. So I believe more than features, what the Indian investors typically need are a couple of very important pillars when they're investing. And I would categorize them as 4 things. And let me talk and link it to a terminology. We call them the 4 S's. One is stability, speed, security, and simplicity. I think that's something that we've ensured that when we are preparing for the last 8 to 9 months to launch m.Stock is something that we focused on. So I think we did more work speaking to people in terms of what their expectation is, because as a global house, the orientation was that we wanted to set up global standards when we launch m.Stock. We really wanted that the platform itself should be able to differentiate the service, which is far more than price. Now, if I want to talk about them individually. Now, how does m.Stock give simplicity in our platforms? See, the platforms are being designed. So the pricing usually attracts the traders first and then the newcomers follow. So our orientation was that how do we create a platform which attracts the traders and investors alike? And hence, we ensured that all the journeys on our platform, whether you transfer a fund or you have to buy a delivery transaction or you want to do an options trading or you want to see something in your watch list, are not more than 2 to 3 clicks in holistic manner. So all you need to do is about 3 clicks. Second, we ensure that the information that is available on the platform is very intuitive. We've not gone behind having a lot of information stuffed on the landing pages, on order pages, which only 1 or 2% of the customers might end up executing. We've added information which we personally believe, and that's what we've tried to test with hundreds of customers that we spoke to before launching, is very relevant for that individual step. And hence, I'm very happy to tell you, and basis customer feedback, that the UI that we've created, which leads to experience, is something that we really feel is going to delight the users. In terms of stability and security, now internationally, when you talk about Mirae, we have the capabilities of ensuring that we are able to execute more than 1 crore trades a day. Second, we are able to handle almost about 90,000 customers at the very same second. We call it concurrency. So, and this is something that we've been doing for the last 25 years across 15 geographies, Anupam. And that gives us a very strong point to start on a very different scale when it comes to technology. So the orientation of the group is to ensure that we're able to set up global standards when it comes to technology. It should not be a case where people come in and ask us, are your platform stable? Of course, there will be some teething troubles. It is, end of the day, it's a machine that we're dealing with. But the orientation is on a larger scheme of things. How can I ensure that the technology is something that the people can really enjoy using? That's a table stake. That is not a concern point for the users. So our global expertise, our understanding of how technology infrastructures work really help us ensuring that we are able to give the kind of stability and speed people need. Last is the security bit of it. I'm sorry, I'm extending it too much.
No. Go on. It is part of the SS. So yeah, go on. Sorry.
So the security bit of it, I think that's something which is very important. We've seen what COVID did to the broking industry. I think we are the happiest when it comes to the leverage that the industry got with the number of investors zooming in. And with that, I think what was very important as an intermediary was to ensure that the customer's data is not sacrificed at any point in time. And that's where we spent a lot of effort and money on. We've got one of the best security analysts on board. We work with one of the best agencies to ensure that at every point in time, security is something that is given the highest concern. So these 4 S's is something that our business is being formed on.
Arun, I want to ask you something since you mentioned about, stability on high volume days, on big days, and we've seen this in the past. It almost becomes like memes on social media. Systems freeze up. Now, some of this is because of the software, I think, that is used to interact with the exchanges from the broker. And some of it, what I'm trying to say is some of it is in the broker's hands and some of it is not in the broker's hands. What's your view on this? If you could explain to our listeners that how does this work? Why do terminals freeze? Why do systems freeze? Why do I, as a trader or an investor, have to pay the price of software glitches on huge volume days? And we've seen those in the last couple of years. What really happens? What's the reality here?
That's a tricky one. So, typically what happens is, as I told you, the broking industry went through a very different orientation when you speak of years 2020 March and onwards, where everyone was in-house. Everyone was looking, how do you ensure that you save your bread and butter? This industry actually went through a very different zoom. I think what happened to us over the last 2 years was something which was unimaginable. To a large extent, I believe everyone was taken aback with the kind of volumes that you saw. If you really notice the kind of the number of events or the kind of events that we've seen happening negatively in terms of technology is something that has started triggering a lot in the last about 2.5 years, because the volumes have shot through the roof. And I think a lot of companies were actually caught unaware that these kind of volumes can hit. So that, I think, is one fundamental reason why these things were happening. Second, which I believe is actually the kind of data inputs that we put in. So as a broker, there's a lot of information that keeps traveling between the exchange, me, and the client. And the entire orientation is, how do I ensure that the live orientation is maintained between the exchanges and the client? For this, there are millions of data points that get pushed from one side to the other, which is the exchange to the client, and we act as intermediaries in pushing this. Multiple times, due to these n number of handshakes that happen, we have to ensure that the systems at every point are ready to take these kind of loads. Somewhere, so the glitches typically are being spread. Sometimes it's an issue that happens between our connectivity with the exchange. Sometimes it's an issue that happens between our connectivity with the client. But if you look at the holistic architecture of this entire orientation is where the entire grip lies. And that's what we've tried to do as brokers, to look at it from a macro perspective, look at it from the perspective that tomorrow, if my volumes increase 10 times, what is the kind of orientation that I need to build in? Do I need to get more servers? Do I need to ensure the security is being taken care of? Do I need to ensure the pipes which connect us and the exchange and the clients are being made wider, and so on and so forth? So I think a forward-looking orientation when it comes to technology preparation and delivery to the client is something that everyone has now started working on and was one of the biggest reasons why these concerns used to happen.
That's good to know. Okay, Arun, how important is zero brokerage, to sustain a trader's or an investor's, basically your customers' interest in your product, right? Because I've paid the money upfront, I'm done. Now, from your perspective, whether I trade or not, it really doesn't matter to you. But from my perspective, and actually to some extent from your perspective also, you would want to handhold me through a certain journey, right? Because if you're saying that stocks or equities should be part of a person's financial plan, then you would want to be throughout the journey. So how important is zero brokerage to the overall experience?
That's an excellent question. Again, Anupam. So that reminds me of a Nirma ad which used to come when I was young, which used to say that यही सफेदी आपको उस भाव में मिले तो आप वो क्यों ले, ये ना ले. So who is price not important to? Actually, it's a very important factor. When it comes to brokerages, I think it's even more important. There are two segments primarily that we divide the market in. People who are investors. So these are guys who will not do very frequent trading. But end of the day, they will come back to the markets, create a portfolio over a longer time, buy and sell and so on and so forth. The other segment are the traders. These are guys who will do multiple trades in the same day. Now, I think the only thing that changes is the degree of the price impact. Whether it's a trader who's doing 20 or 50 or 100 trades a day, or it's an investor who will do probably 2 to 3 trades a day, end of the day, you're paying a price for it. And hence, if I'm removing this barrier completely, that orientation completely changes. For example, a trader, the break-even points actually come down. For an investor, so you should not look at only the price of the brokerage. You should look at the AMC that the user pays. You should look at the charges that the intermediary brokers like us collect. For example, I told you about pledge. I told you about DP sell charges. So there are multiple things that even an investor is bothered about. So if I take this hurdle completely out of your books when you're investing, that actually takes a lot of chunk out. That's one part of it. Now, having said that pricing is important, I don't think that's the only thing that people are today concerned about, and they ideally should not be. What is also very important is, again, the trust. See, this is the money that you're dealing with. You're giving me your money for investments. And hence, I have to be trustworthy as an intermediary. And that's what Mirae as a global brand gives us. Second, I feel what is even important is experience. You don't want to be in a bus that has got hundreds of bumps and at the end of the day gives you a price which is cheap. You want to ensure that your journey within the platform, your journey when I don't think this should happen, but you end up calling a call center, that journey should be very simple, that experience should be very nice. So the price, in addition to trust, experience, and then eventually, as I spoke of earlier when we discussed the speed and stability, of course, from a trader or even an investor standpoint, is something that makes the holistic decision point for an investor. Price, of course, is something that attracts a lot of users.
Yeah, so price, trust, experience. Let's talk about technology, Arun. How is that changing the user experience in a product like yours, like m.Stock?
So I think it's not only changing, but it's driving the way the transactions are happening, whether financial or non-financial. I think that's becoming the base of how businesses are being built. So I entered the stockbroking fraternity about 15, 16 years back, and that was the time where opening an account itself used to be a week-long process. Now, we pride in opening accounts in less than 5 minutes at m.Stock. So that is one of the biggest changes that I have seen. Second, the reach that technology is today created. So I was just traveling to Delhi and happened to travel to areas which were a little far-flung. I was amazed to know how people in far-flung villages are today taking on e-commerce website, investment websites, to trade, to invest, to buy clothes. So that is what technology has created. It's reached far-flung areas, and hence the participation as a country is increased. Third, and I think this is what has changed the face of brokers towards the customers, is that the experience has now become more B2I. We offer customers individual experience. So with Anupam, my orientation is different. My data points are different. My journeys are different. With Arun, the data points will completely be different. Probably you're a trader, you need more data, you need more features. I'm an investor, I need less of data, but I need more details on a specific data point. So that is how technologies ensure that I'm able to deliver a B2I experience to individuals. So I think better experience, reach is something that technology helps us create. Of course, stability, accuracy, security is further added through this.
Yeah. So what's your outlook going forward, Arun? Because a lot of people think that, brokerages and trading accounts and demats, yes, this is all bull market stuff. Market ऊपर जाता तो सब लोग घुस जाते हैं. Now that the market actually has been coming off since October last year, things are kind of thoda thanda ho gaya. But if you look at the long term, what's your outlook on the growth of number of traders, number of investors, and general interest from the public towards equities? You look at it in terms of penetration or whichever metric that you track.
So I personally believe that, of course, Bull Run gave us a number which none of us being in the industry for such a long time had ever seen. But being in a country with a population of 1.4 billion plus, where we have more than 500 million PAN cards, I think we are still scratching the surface. We are at some 9 crore plus demat accounts, so to say. But if you look at the same numbers in West, China has, with a very different population size, 14% penetration. US is at a staggering 50% plus penetration. I think we will continue to grow at a rate of almost about 25 to 30% if you talk about next 4 to 5 years. There will be blips. You will see some months where the numbers are down, some months where the numbers are up. But I think India is aimed at becoming one of the superhouse, or so to say, powerhouse in investing over the next 4 to 5 years. And I don't have any doubt in seeing this. These blips will keep coming, but an overall larger number, I think it's a very strong investment story that we are looking at when it comes to a country like ours.
Very interesting, Arun. Let's wrap this up in a form of a checklist for our listeners who probably, still don't have a brokerage account or are considering it, looking out to open one. What is your checklist of the top 3 or top 5, maybe top 10 features, whatever, that our listeners should look out for when they are opening a brokerage account?
So I might be a little biased here, Anupam. I will speak a little more about m.Stock. But I think the proposition. So I think why have a fear in your mind of how much will I be charged for X or Y or Z? Look at a pricing proposition that can eliminate that completely. I think that's important, not only from an m.Stock standpoint, but also from a standpoint where the users have 100% clarity. That's one. Second, please ensure that you look at someone you can trust being your financial partner. I think that's the most important point when you're looking at partnering with an organization who is going to help you on your journey of wealth creation. Third, of course, this is something that you build over time, but look at someone who can give you an experience that you remember. I don't think there's anything more important than a platform that you would love to go to or a customer service that you will really enjoy speaking to. And last, which I feel is something which is going to become even more important with the time growing with technology, intruding into our lives like anything, is the security and stability piece. Please choose a partner who's able to ensure that there is stability, which is something that you don't have to look out for every day. Please ensure that you choose a partner who gives you security so that you as an individual is safe, your money is safe, your data is safe. I think these are 4 most important things beyond any features that probably me as a broker can offer to any customer. If you're able to find these 4 checklists, the 4 points which you can say that, yes, I have all of them, I think you should just close your eyes and open an account.
Yeah, security is really important, right, Arun? Because brokerages are a product where typically the customer places a lot of trust in the broker, and thankfully we've not had many. We've had a few, unsavory incidents that have happened in the last couple of years, and SEBI has caught on to that. Let's just emphasize that security part, because sometimes people who are not aware with how the stock market works, sign power of attorneys, some kind of random stuff. Just some warning points for our listeners on why security is so important in a brokerage account.
See, there are a couple of points why security is most important. Number one, this is a financial relation that you're setting up with an organization. So practically you are placing your hard-earned money through which you buy any kind of investments, whether it is stocks, commodities, currencies, mutual fund, anything. So practically your bank account is with the broker. And even the stocks that you've bought is with the broker. Although in real sense, the money does not stay with the broker, it is in your bank account, or the stocks don't stay with us, it is with CDSL or NSDL. But you have to have a partner who's able to ensure that your investments, both in terms of money and your investments otherwise, are kept, which is visible to you. You are aware of what exactly is happening. That's one. Second, when you transact with the platform, you share a lot of data of yours. So practically when we do the KYC of the customers, we are able to get every data point of the individual. And hence, everyone should look out for a partner who's able to ensure that the data of the customer is kept at a place where it's not accessible to even the organization that you're dealing with. Because practically you opened up everything. You opened up how much money do you have in your bank accounts, how many times do you transact, what shares do you carry, and it becomes a threat from that perspective. And lastly, of course, when you transact with the platform, you want to ensure that the transactions that you've done have gone through. There is no one at the back who's placing transactions on your behalf. So I would want to add, in fact, from the model itself, m.Stock. So my interest and the client interest starts getting aligned, because unlike my competitor partners, my business is not to get a client to trade more. My business is to ensure that I'm able to get a client onboarded, and then I provide the services to ensure that I'm able to give the experience to the users. And hence, the alignment actually really goes well beyond the account opening.
Yeah, folks. So please keep all of that in mind when you're considering opening a brokerage account. With that, that is a wrap on this episode of Paisa Vaisa. My guest, Arun Chaudhry, Director and Chief Business Officer at Mirae Asset Capital Markets India Private Limited. Arun, thank you so much for doing this for our listeners.
Thank you, Anupam. It was lovely chatting with you.
And listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Paisa Vaisa. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm your host, Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter. And folks, thank you, really. Thank you so much for listening to Paisa Vaisa.
No material on the show should be considered as financial advice. The material on the show is for informational purposes only. Please consult a financial advisor before taking any investment decision.
Ladies, I'm sure you will relate to it if I say that we are constantly busy with work, studies, cooking, and what not. And amidst all of this, we often forget an important element that needs our desperate attention: finance. So here we are, bringing to you SBI Life presents A Sip of Finance, a women-exclusive podcast where we will teach you how to manage personal finances in a simple and straightforward way with your host, Priyanka Acharya, a finance expert who's been in the industry for 14 plus years. And not just in English, but in 7 more languages. So tune in every Tuesday for fresh episodes on the IVM Podcast Network and all major podcast streaming platforms.
इन्फ्लेशन, फिस्कल डेफिसिट, जीडीपी, एमएसपी, एनपीए, इक्विटी मार्केट वगैरह वगैरह। दोस्तों, हमने सारे शब्द टीवी या अखबार में जरूर देखे होंगे या फिर सुने होंगे, पर हम में से कितने लोग हैं जो ये जानते हैं कि इन सब का सीधा प्रभाव पड़ता है हमारी सैलरी पर, हमारे इंक्रीमेंट पर और कमबख्त हमारे खर्चों पर। दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है अभिनव त्रिवेदी और मैं बात कर रहा हूँ इक्का दुक्का इकोनॉमी पॉडकास्ट से, जहाँ पे इस तरह के इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंशियल टर्म्स को मैं जोड़ूंगा सीधा आपकी जेब से। हर मंगलवार एक नया एपिसोड सुने IVM पॉडकास्ट की वेबसाइट, ऐप या फिर किसी भी अन्य पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पर।